we're waiting for all our panelists to join. I'm first super excited to introduce this panel. It's Demystifying the Metaverse, a deep dive into virtual future. But as I like my audience to be a little bit more engaged, I would like to start with a question. So, who still thinks that a metaverse is something crazy, futuristic, a little bit mysterious? Please raise your hands. Who still thinks? Because our goal is to demystify it. So those who are not raising their hands, they're probably going to be escorted off the premises because you're not interested to demystify it. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people? Not too much. No one else cares. We need to hype it up. We need to hype our audience to tell that, on one hand, yes, when we think about metaverse, we think about sci-fi movies as living in a virtual simulation. But on the other hand, metaverse is an exciting tool, a platform for people to connect, for businesses to be built, for innovation to be, well, created. And here I have amazing panelists, amazing, I would say, you're basically you're revolutionizing your industries, your fields. So why don't I start by asking all the panelists to introduce themselves? Sam, why don't you go first?
Yeah, okay. My name is Sam Lai. I actually CEO of Meta Incubator. We started 1 year ago, almost the same time as when Binance moved to UAE, because we actually at that time we see that openness in terms of policy for crypto assets and the metaverse from the Dubai government, and then we actually can also see the vision that it will become a capital of metaverse and crypto. That's why we actually come here to start it. So for the last year, actually I built kind of the whole stack to support metaverse and kind of Web3 project. So from the bottom layer, we partner with Alibaba Cloud to support all the cloud service. And then on top of it, actually work with Boba Network, who is actually attributed to here to have multi-chain support to all the Web3 project. And then we also work with a lot of marketing company and also market maker. So of course, we only partner with the best one. And then for market maker, we also have partnership with Amber Group. So from there, right, at the next step, we actually will be more and more engaged with the community. So one thing we will really do is to reach out to the university and education field to actually teach the people on Web3 and Metaverse, because once we actually educated the next generation who actually can be a developer on Metaverse and Web3, then it will become a creator economy in UAE, not just a trading.
Chris?
It's very good to be at WBS again. I mean, along the Bangkok, KL, and Singapore one. This is my next Dubai one. So right now, I'm based in Vietnam, and we do quite a number of different stuff, from incubations of a project to helping project to get on, like global exchange, like Huobi Global and everything. And I also run quite a number of different crypto community in Vietnam. And I think if you guys ever been in the space long enough, I think Vietnamese crypto community is actually along the very big one at the global stage. So if you have any interested going into Southeast Asia and Vietnam, let me know, hit me up around the stage. I would like to talk to you as well. Yep.
Stephanie?
Hello, very pleased to be with you today. So I'm the founder and CEO of Power3.io. We are indeed a Web3 impact studio. We indeed empower, connect, give back, reward, and impact brands, leveraging employees, but also the audience, the end consumer, and the supplier to generate a tremendous impact on the brands, solving their corporate business issue thanks to blockchain, NFTs, metaverse, obviously, in order to have a tremendous impact on SDG and build a sustainable future for the brand. So we value indeed at Power3.io 4 pillars: people, and I think it's important to remind the fact that it's not only about technology. People are key to make this shift. We value as well business, because we need to make sure that all the business are and become even more sustainable in many ways. We value obviously technology, and we value any kind of efforts that can have a tremendous impact on the planet. And I'm also one of the advisors of the Metaverse Fashion Council and the Circular Fashion Federation in France.
Thank you, Frederick.
Yeah, hello, nice to meet everyone. I'm Fred. I come from the world of video games. I've done a lot of virtual worlds already, but without any blockchain. I've done survival games, racing games, many virtual worlds, persistent worlds, roller coaster games, everything that are used to live and stay in a virtual world. So today we are launching Alphaverse, which is a virtual world with the blockchain. It's a metaverse. It's called Alpha because we want to be the entry point to as many metaverses as possible. We'll talk about that in a second. But I come from the angle of entertainment and making sure that people find something to do, something useful to do in the metaverse, and they always come back. That's the main point, and have fun.
So thank you everyone for introducing themselves. And my name is Laura Corneliana Medinova, and I run a marketing agency since 2016 for Web3 DeFi and Metaverse projects. So to kickstart this panel, many people say that Metaverse has what it takes to disrupt our lives completely. So in your opinion, how actually Metaverse can change the way we live, we learn, and we work? Sam, what are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, right, even I'm running a Metaverse incubator, we know it's a kind of big thing for the next few years. I don't see Metaverse as one like porn. It's actually always a progression. Our life have been changing by digital technology for a long time, since the internet. So I think this is some of the data we see, right? Because that's before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, people always spend 6.5 hours each day looking at the computer. And 2 hours of those are actually interacting with other people. So, but then physically, we only spend 65 minutes, like face-to-face with our friends and family on each day. But after the pandemic, everybody knows the whole world changed upside down. Pretty much everybody work on a Zoom office rather than real office. So, and then you can see Zoom and Calendly change the way that we work already, and the Gather.town even changed the event and seminar kind of experience a bit more. And then you can see Kareem change the way that we go shopping because we don't even go shopping anymore. And then and even corporation and government, Dubai government, going to set up the ministry in the sandbox. But in the future, more and more going to be happen like this. We'd rather we like it or not. So it just depends on how we create an even better experience for people in the future.
Thank you. Chris, what are your thoughts on?
I think one of the good way to look at the usage of and the reality of metaverse is you're looking at the applications of it. And very interestingly, in Vietnam right now, one of the very big brands, which is Heineken beer, is they actually coding the first few lines of coding of their metaverse from Vietnam. And I can imagine metaverse is one of the way that the brands actually can create a different set of experience in parallel with whatever they have in real life, and not affecting your, your whatever making who you are. I mean, it's a beer, right? So in the metaverse, easily they can in the Heineken's metaverse, one of the few things that they can recommend the user, for example, to encourage people to exercise more, to walk more, to run more before you can get reward. Some of the, like the NFT you can exchange for, our exclusive kind of beer in real life, for example, because you can't do those kind of things quite easily in real life because of many things. I mean, if you are in the Middle East where alcohol drinks are not very encouraged, and then in even developing country like Vietnam, I think alcohols are actually being taxed quite high as well. So it put a lot of limits on the brands and the corporations to be creative in how they can interact with their user. So metaverse is absolutely one of the way that I can think big brands and corporations can interact with the end user in a very creative way.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of big brands, there are so many examples already of fashion brands like Nike, Gucci, Adidas leveraging the metaverse to engage their communities by creating virtual clothes, virtual attire, and that basically generates more sales. So Stephanie, what are some other untackled opportunities in the space for brands to leverage and generate more revenue?
Indeed, I mean, metaverse is definitely much more than a virtual world. It will bring a lot of new opportunities for brands because I do believe that AR glasses, like the one that Apple is finalizing right now, will be game changer for adoption. Because the problem is that for many people, they don't get, what is metaverse. For them, it's only for gamers, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, but not for, the rest of them. So what is really important is for the brands to understand the fact that it's another layer, and it will be totally connected with not only the digital world, but also the physical world. It will enrich the customer experience, but also definitely change the way employees work, the way that also you can involve your supplier and turn your audience into a real community. But I do believe that it's a tremendous tool. It's a tremendous ecosystem, I should say, that every brand should start leveraging right now and start to learn on. Simply because we're currently facing 5 crises: economical crisis, technological crisis. This is major shift. Social crisis. In terms of skills, just one number. The World Economic Forum mentioned the fact that 1 billion people have to be upskilled or reskilled by 2025. This is a major issue. How will we, will we make sure that we help all those people to be upskilled thanks to these new technologies? Because everyone will be impacted. And knowing that on top, one of 5 of workers plan to quit their job right now. So we are in the middle of a complete shift, and for brands, they can leverage it in many ways, on the way they engage their employees, on the way they make sure to have a better traceability on their product with their suppliers, on the way they turn their audience into community. So the use cases and the purpose is tremendous. And I think that we should emphasize that instead of emphasizing too much on the technology itself, having a techie, nerdy jargon, which is not easy to understand for many people.
Very interesting points. Frédéric, what do you think are the top few industries that are going to benefit the most from the metaverse?
Industries, you mean? Yeah. I think it's all about the experience. So for me, because the metaverse is all about digital assets, it's every industry that is already in the digital world. For me, it's very simple. It's video games, music, and because we are talking about brands, I think brands have a lot of things to play and to earn with the loyalty programs on the blockchain. Let me just quickly give you an overview for each cases. Games. More and more, games used to be very specialized, game boxes 20 years ago. Today, you have games everywhere, and even insurance companies, you have to basically play little games, and if you play little games, you have a better rate, right? So everything is about gamification. So what you're going to see in the metaverse, and I can tell you because we're working on it, if you take, for instance, football, right? You have the World Cup in Qatar, November and December of this year. I can tell you that coming soon, next year and the year after, most of the sales of tickets of the games will be gamified, meaning you will have first to go into a virtual world, you will have to play some activities, and then you will have an NFT or blockchain that is going to give you access to real-life perks. Is it a VIP lane so that you don't wait in line? Is that like a drink somewhere? What's going to make the difference is that all these perks will be on the blockchain, so you will trust them. Okay? That's super important. But I think many industries will come to use video games, and they're going to use metaverses, they're going to use the blockchain to give trust and make sure you know where you're going. So that's the first thing, video games. Second, music. Very simple. Today, everyone is screwed in the music business because no one can follow if the song is played once, twice, 10 times, 10,000 times, and no one is getting paid. Spotify is just a black box. Talk to anyone in the music industry, and I work with them. No one knows how much they are getting and why they are getting this, and no one is able to make a direct connection between the number of times a song is played and the check they're getting at the end of the year, okay? So what's gonna happen here on the metaverse and on the blockchain is every time a song is all the songs will be tracked at the end of the day, and they will be tagged, and when they are played, there's gonna be a payment. So it's a game changer for the musicians, but it's also a game changer for everyone in the music industry. I'm working on it as well. The last thing is the brands. We are talking about the brands. I think today when you see people spending 3 days, 3 days and nights in a row just to wait for the opening and to grab the next bag, the next big item of something, this is, I can tell you, I think that this is over in 24 months, because most of the experience will be online. You will be online, you will do a few things in the virtual world, in the 3D world. You will earn an NFT, which will give you access, a priority, or a number in the wait line. And you, because it's on the blockchain, you'll be able to give it and to sell it to somebody else. So I think the days of having to wait 3 days to get the next Nike pair of shoes, I know it's nice. Well, I know the brands are using it, but more and more the experience will be online. You'll do something, you'll get a ticket in the line, you'll be able to sell it, and that will be the evolution. And that's a game changer also for big brands. And for me, if I were a big brand, I would invest a lot in loyalty programs and how to put them on the blockchain. For me, that's the next big thing for brands.
So we have a lot of opportunities starting from fashion, entertainment, education. But one thing that I think we're all missing is Metaverse is going to go as far as the hardware will. And one of the, at least for me personally, biggest opportunities in this space is creating a comfortable, easy-to-use headset, which not going to be like we're used now, like Oculus, very big one, you look funny with it. Some of the companies will create easy-to-use glasses, something to have, not necessarily virtual reality, maybe augmented reality. This is where a lot of opportunities are going to start to develop. But now we have opportunities, we have the industries. So how do we get into? How do we actually start building something in the metaverse? What are the key points? Sam, you run an incubator. Why don't you walk us through, and for the audience, what would be your 5 key tips if someone wants to start building their business in the metaverse?
So actually, yeah, because I have a bias toward the technology startup rather than like NFT project or other project, right? Because my last job from Web2 is like I work for the CTO office for HP, so I look at like virtual reality, augmented reality startup like 10 years ago already. But then every time I talk to a startup right now, the first story I tell them is, for me, the one of the earliest and still amazing metaverse for me is Star Wars, because I'm still living in the Star Wars, and like a lot of kids, I think at our stage, we actually have a virtual day with Princess Leia, when we were watching the movie at that moment. So, the one thing I always tell a startup is technology is important, but for metaverse startup, never really forget about is the experience. So you got to focus on your production, on your marketing, artistic creation, and most important thing is actually storytelling. So what is the story? Because when you're talking about we living in the metaverse, you also need to have social life, you got to belong to some tribe, and then what actually the vision and the story of the tribe. So you got to create it. So, of course, technology is going to improve, right? Interactivity, remote communication, all those things will be fine. But so you really going to focus is how do you engage your customer with those technology, right? That's number one. And the second thing is, this is actually a really good place for you to energize, even for a lot of break brand, energize Generation C and Generation Alpha, because we run out of digits, And from there, and how can you build a dedicated experience for those people? Because every person wants different kind of experience. You got to specialize, understand your customer, and build that experience. So from there, right, so you can see technology is just supplementary, right? So your customer experience are much, much more important. So, because remember one thing, right? Your existing customer always 9 times more likely to purchase product from you. And then they also spend 31% more than new customer. So as an internet metaverse startup, is how to grow your customer and make them existing customer and keep monetize from them. That's actually the key points.
I really agree with what Sam is saying. We in the marketing agency would always say start with the 3 things. It's who is your target audience, what are their messaging, what are the messages they want to hear, and what are your channels, how you're going to deliver it. And here, as Sam mentioned, it's about the storytelling, it's about engaging a community. Because if you don't have the right audience for your product, and you're going to communicate the wrong things, there's going to be no business, even though you'll have the best technology, the best people, and the best ideas. It's all about the three key things. But now, going a little bit further, Chris, you target a lot Southeast Asian countries, you're based there. And basically, this is the region where a lot of businesses are coming up. Why and what's so special about Southeast Asian region that most of the really good metaverse projects are coming from basically you guys? What do other regions need to learn to start building these exceptional products?
I think that's a very interesting question, and I think one of the starting point is that if you pay attention, actually a lot of the country in Southeast Asia actually are still developing country. So there's a big gap of what they can see in their real life when they compare with more advanced country like in the US, in the Europe, or even the nearest one right in the middle of Southeast Asia, which is Singapore. For those developing country, like technology is one of the best way for those countries to actually close the gap in their experience of the end user and everything, conveniently, there's a lot of, developer talents around the space. And I think very luckily as well, I think Southeast Asia markets are one of the earlier markets to adopt blockchain technology and also learn about cryptocurrency all the way back in 2015 and 16. And where I think for blockchain adoptions and, a little bit of the metaverse, it's all about the journey, how you get into industry, how you learn from all of, after all the crash of the markets and everything. I hear one of the questions from the, the audience before, how to avoid scam and phishings and everything. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. And for markets to develop, a well-developed product, the market itself have to experience all of these things themselves as well, from how to build, a Hello Kitties type, of gaming, and then how to build an Axie Infinity on top of that and everything. So it's all about the experience. And believe it or not, I think Southeast Asia is one of the country that well equipped with, number one, I think, developer talents. And number two, we are very lucky to have a very big early crypto investor community. So basically you have a lot of good funding around. And because these guys joined the markets very early in 2015 and 16, they know how to make a good fortune if you find the right project and everything. So it's in their mentality to really look out for good or even potential project to invest in. So you can put it in a way that they're taking risks in investing and incubating this project as well. Out of the 10 projects, maybe one of them will be successful, like Axie Infinity, but that's enough. That's enough. So I think it's also in the mentality of the region that they look out for opportunity, they invest in early ideas, and luckily they also have a lot of good developer talents around as well.
I love how we are in this tips and tricks kind of path. So why don't we continue with it? So we have storytelling technology, access to capital, have the right community. Stephanie, what would you add? What would be your key few tips for companies who are starting to build a metaverse, or they're already building, but they want to basically be one of the next Axie Infinitiums of the space?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. First of all, start to educate and be inclusive, meaning that break silos within your company. It's very important to make sure that every single employee understand how they can leverage what they can do, to be part of these shifts. Then build a squad, meaning that, the problem with Web3 is the speed. Change and innovation are coming every single day. So the best way to enter into that field is to build a squad, combining experts and with indeed some very early adopters employee in order to build the perfect combination of skills while training the trainers, the one that will be able to be the reference within your company. Then I think what is important is to start being pragmatic. It's a transition. We won't go from Web 2 to Web 3 in a day. I'm working with many type of brands, not only fashion, but some of them have not yet fully ended their Web 2 transformation. So make it step by step, but start now learning by doing. This is so important because depending of your DNA, depending of your end consumer persona, depending of your business goals and challenges, the result won't be the same between brands. So start doing and learn from what you do, getting a real track record and collecting data. Simplicity rather than complexity. That is really important because we can go into a very complex things entering into Web3, but I think that this complexity brings a lot of friction, and it's important to make it easy. Interoperability is very important, and that's something that definitely we as people working in Web3 need to work on, because a lot of brands I'm working with are scared to make the bad choice. What blockchain should I use? On which metaverse should I go? So this is very important that we accelerate this question of solving interoperability and security. Because we mentioned, fraud, it's something that scams and so on. It's something that afraid people. Speed, more you go, faster you go, earlier you go, the better. And one thing, and I will come back on human, vulnerability versus ego for leaders, and collaboration versus competition as business principle. It's really important that we enter in an era of collaboration to move faster, and also something extremely important, switch from a business-centric strategy to a user-centric strategy. And it's time to think in your business model about how are you going to share revenues. The engagement from your community, from your employees will start if you start sharing revenues. And that's the reason why, as Frederic said, loyalty program is absolutely critical, and is not just giving, some gifts here and here. It's about sharing revenues. And I invite you to see what Starbucks is doing right now, because by having major brands like Starbucks, entering in that field and make this transition easy and very, concrete for many people, this will definitely speed up the adoption of Web3 and Metaverse. And yeah, I think it's a good start.
Oh my God, this is so much information, and I love it. Like, make it simple, make it easy to understand, focus on user retention. Frederic, is there anything else to add after this amazing tips from Stephanie?
Look, I think I've invested for, 25 years in tech, video games, and not blockchain, of course. I wish I would have studied earlier, like everyone in this room. I think, look, if you're building a project or a metaverse, you will likely need investors. So I can tell you that most of the projects I see, and I see a lot, you have like the top 5 mistakes. I'm just going to give them to you after that you check your presentation, maybe. First, you need to be very clear as to what you're trying to do. It's very simple. You're either trying to fix a problem, or you're trying to create a new experience. But sometimes I see a lot of presentations, I don't even understand what is the problem we are trying to fix, or I don't even understand what is the new experience we are trying to deliver, okay? So that's super important. What are you really trying to do? Second thing, do you really need the blockchain? Many times I see projects on my desk and like, dude, you don't need the blockchain. You can do it easily. There's no need to have the blockchain. The solution already exists. You don't need blockchain. So if you really want to do something on the blockchain, you have to make sure that you know why you're going to use the blockchain. That's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3, this one is a no-go. Most of the project I see, of course, there's a token. And when you look at the project, you're like, do you really need a token? Why don't you just do it with Matic, Polygon, BNB? I mean, you shake a tree, you have many tokens out there. But of course, people want a token because they think that they're going to sell it, bring it to the moon, and blah, 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 blah. We all know the story. But these days are over, right? Most of the day, most of the times now, you can do a project on the blockchain, you don't need a token. Okay, so if you put a token, this is just a big red flag, unless you can really justify why you need the token, why you need to create 10 billion of XYZ token on that chain that you're going to sell, that you're going to keep. Nah, this is over, right? So forget about it. This is usually, unless some of you have a good reason to do it, but frankly, it's not the case. And then, the last two mistakes that people make, you just believe that because it's a new project, you're going to replace Binance in 6 months, you're going to replace, you know, the next big game, you're going to be better than So Rare, you're going to be better than all these games, Axis, blah, 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 in six months, and you just say, hey, you know what, we are not doing this, but just be aware that everyone is moving in the space, right? So don't look at the situation like it is today. Just try to project yourself 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the road, and you'll see that these games are going to move as well, right? If you're doing a game, for instance, or these tech projects are moving. They're not waiting for you. So this is really the thing that usually is missing in all the decks I see is that the projection, the momentum, and taking into account that everyone is moving, everyone is running, and no one is waiting for you, right? So all these big companies, consensus, they all have projects already. So just take that into account. But the biggest, for me, red flag for me is just dropping a token in a presentation while you can really do it with BNB, Ethereum, Matic, Polygon, and all these existing coins, right? So that's usually today a big red flag for me when I look at some projects.
Well, I hope everyone here in the audience are making notes, because this what you're getting here is like top level insights. And one last thing, if I may add, is if you're building technology, build the community first. As someone who's been doing marketing, helping to deal with investors, and now on the other side, part of the fund, you might have the best technology, revolutionary business model, but if you don't have the community, you're going to have very hard time fundraising. And on the other hand, if you have huge community, excited community who is ready for your product, but your product is not there yet, the product might be still the idea stage, the development stage, this is going to be no-brainer. Build the community first. Focus on the community, show the possibility, the track record of the people who are interested in your product. And now, as we have last 2 minutes, I want to ask open question for everyone here in the panel. So how will the metaverse change all the cryptocurrencies? Do we actually need tokens, crypto in a metaverse development, or fiat is just enough? Chris, what are your thoughts on that? And then I would like others to chip in as well.
I think for me it's no. So you don't really need like crypto and in the experience of metaverse right away. Because in my opinion, metaverse is actually one of the better way for blockchain industry as a whole to educate the mass user, and it doesn't have to start with having crypto and right there in there right away, but rather than NFT use case, digital asset, and depends on how you design the metaverse, it can involve no crypto in there, and it's very important for country, especially have a big no-no for crypto. It's very important to pay attention to that, and for me, it's one of the better way to educate the market about crypto without actually doing crypto.
Okay. Sam, Stephanie, what are your thoughts? Frederick, please.
No, the way we do it, we let everyone come into the world. So you can have the experience. You just need to create an account. You don't need a crypto wallet. You don't need any crypto. You just create an account. You can enter the world. But of course, after that, if you want to engage, if you want to buy an NFT, of course, you need a crypto. What we're trying to do is to have the first transaction, the first purchase of the NFT, either as using crypto or fiat. But of course, if you then want to resell your NFT, you need crypto. But initially, we want to have the world, and our world is as open as possible. And the first purchase of NFTs from us, of course, because if you go to OpenSea, you need cryptos. From us, we're trying to offer the option between crypto and fiat.
I think what is important is the fact that we need, again, to be inclusive, meaning that we are in a transition phase. So we can't expect everyone to have a crypto wallet. Yeah, so you know, it's obvious that we need to offer the possibility to make payment in fiat. And just a simple number, I mean, 20% of the Americans have crypto wallets, and if I take the example of France, only 8%. So if you are not including, I mean, if you do not include fiat within your model, you're going to miss a huge amount of people.
Awesome. Anything else? Any last remarks from our panelists?
Yeah, I think in terms of fiat, crypto, token, NFT, at the end, it's just a representation of the value. But I think one thing I want to say at the end is that something created digitally doesn't mean it's worth less than physical objects, right? So in the metaverse, we really think about, because why luxury brand is really strong in metaverse, because they know how to create culture, not create products. They know how to create experience. They know how to create a digital tribe for people that belongs to. So for all those fiat, actually crypto, tokens, at the end it's just a tool that how can you actually build that like economics, and it actually follow human behavior. So I think everybody need to look at the world, the metaverse from that angle, not from, okay, the token go up, token go down. It's how actually use the token to serve the people better. You know?
I just would like to add something before we end. For me, and if there is one message to keep in mind, it's for any kind of project, and I mean your company or brands wants to start entering into Web3, the first question to ask is why? And I invite you to watch on YouTube the Golden Circle video of Simon Sinek. It's very important to start by the why, not by the what, which blockchain, the why. What is the purpose and what is the impact you want to deliver to whom? That is the last point to raise.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my dear panelists. Thank you, everyone, for the audience. I hope this was insightful, and I think now our amazing panel needs a bigger round of applause. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was good.